Okay, guys, testing. Just trying to see if everything works here. Let's see, just loading everything up. Okay, I see that it should sound okay. Just let me know in chat, and let me just switch over quickly to pop out. Hear you. Okay, I'll switch from the screen in just one quick second. I'm just going and grabbing the web version here. So I hope everyone's surviving okay in this market. And there we go. Okay. So welcome, guys, to the Friday support session. So while we let people kind of dive in and see what's going on, just a reminder, this is our now daily noon until 1 support session for Trade Ideas, where we hang out, shoot about the market, see what's going on, ask and answer any questions of whoever comes in. So at any point, if you have any question, just type it. There should be a chat box either to the right of the video or below the video somewhere. Sign in any Google account that exists, and you'll be good to go. So we'll just be able to start chatting from there. It's interesting to see the market, or the artificial intelligence, pretty chill today. I think as the guy who builds a lot of these strategies, it's simply because we put a lot of kind of volatility type filters in them to make sure that things are cooperating kind of as we want them to. So really, there's not a whole lot. I was watching Kenny Glick from Hit the Bid, who's a friend, essentially just talking about how all the move was already done. He was up early looking at the market, and he's like, I don't even know what I'm going to do today. So we are, and so far, it's exactly what's happening, right? Just this sideways chop, all the kind of gap went down. First question, so is there Fibonacci's on the charts? Not as of yet. There are some additions to the charts that I'm working with Dave, our dev, coming. More indicators and things like that, but no word on any kind of Fibonacci type of action at this time. So let's just, I guess, take the time while questions dribble in on just going over kind of what we're seeing here. It's almost the end of a weekly candle. So one thing that I do like to do every week is take a look at the major indices and what they look like on the weekly. Now, of course, the day isn't over yet. But it's always a good thing to kind of take a moment and zoom out a little bit. So let's take a look. This is just an indices top list that I built that has, your major ETFs, the ones that are kind of very important to most people. And then from there, I just go and say, okay, well, let us take a look on time frame on the weekly charts and kind of see what it is that it looks like the candle is going to kind of deal with from there. Awesome, Mike. I got in INO early. Ooh, yeah, INO was a mover today, wasn't it? That thing is at all-time highs, or it's definitely 52-week highs for it. Not quite all-time. It's getting there, though. That might be another little catalyst for it, but yeah, that one's been a bit of a monster. Look at that weekly candle from 4 to 13. It's something that kind of what we have to do a little more, and this is actually something I picked up from a presentation that JC did at one of our summits, where as a day trader I focus on generally 15-minute charts, and then when I do my swing trading I focus on daily charts. But ever since I've started once a week, zooming out and looking at weekly charts, and then once a month zooming out and looking at all the monthly charts. It really, it kind of gets you to see the forest instead of just the trees. So again, this is something that I do kind of every week, where I'll just go down this particular list here. Got to turn on symbol linking, kind of what we want to see each individual, right? So here's bonds, and that makes perfect sense. Generally speaking, bonds are kind of a flight to safety when it comes to market crashes, and then gold the same kind of way. Gold here is actually pretty interesting. I've been watching this in the weekly candle. One of my favorite setups is when you see kind of big wide range bars like this that are reversed almost immediately. It just kind of shows that everybody who's sold during this bar and everyone that's short during this bar is kind of slapped in the face pretty quickly and just saying that they're wrong. And, from there's actually quite a bit to be derived to say, okay, well then what's next? And as kind of morbid, I guess, or as sad as it sounds, my favorite setups are when I can see the pain from the other side. Sorry, my dog's protecting me from, I don't know, a squirrel or something. Maybe I'm getting an Amazon delivery, so I apologize if you're going to hear a bit of barking in the background there. So this gold is really interesting. I've got my eyes on gold for next week. If we kind of break above this high that we had here, kind of 158, I'm going to keep a close eye on that, because I think there could be kind of a momentum. Steve coined the term swing scalp, and I like that, when you're looking on the daily time frame, but you're really only looking for the next kind of 2 days or so of movement. Reminds me now that I read the book Trading in the Zone with Mark Douglas. So for anybody watching, before you even read the rest of that, if you have not read Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas, what are you doing? Take a minute and actually go through and do that. It's an amazing book that kind of every trader should read. And then Mark Douglas, the author's name, title, yeah, that's right. So it's Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas. And can you go over set up in manual mode? This is a test account that I've got going now. The Disciplined Trader. Yeah, Disciplined Trader is great. Mark Douglas, Trading in the Zone is an amazing book. Very, very much focused on psychology, which is the issue in 99.9% of all trader problems. Is developing a system that has an edge isn't the most complicated thing in the world. It's then following that system through ups and downs and going from there. So stop loss order. So for example, ARVN. So I am short ARVN here. And let's say I want to put a stop loss just manually, and I want to put it out above this candle, which is 53.34. So, any manual trading kind of happens in this type of area right here. So when it comes to a stop limit, what you'll do is you'll fill in the price with what you want that kind of limit order to be. And then for stop markets, you're just going to leave that just as MKT or a market right there. And then up here is the price. So what order do you want either your limit or your market to trigger? So to simply put out a stop loss order for this one at 53.34, I'll just type in here 53.34. and leave it as a market. So it'll be a market stop, and then I'll just hit buy. And you'll see the order just came out here. Some cool things, if you don't know in the system, it actually will show you what's going on right here initially, and then how much you will make or lose on that type of trade. Trailing stops we're still kind of working with and are still a bit fickle, but they are possible in the system. not excuse me, not setting up within that actual order entry, but when you set up a strategy under risk management, you can actually set up a trailing stop here. I don't like generic trailing stops. I have an issue. So again, if anyone doesn't know who I am or what I do, I'm gonna shamelessly plug kind of socials and stuff like that. But name's Michael. I basically am mostly responsible. A lot of the business dev stuff. I do a fair amount of the traveling and things like that. But primarily, I am the one that builds a lot of the strategies for the AI and look to tweak on the AI. So I do a lot when it comes to quantitative trading. That's just where I focus. That's kind of where my interests lie. And as one who was very, very good at developing trading plans and then very, very bad at actually executing those trading plans, basically, when I look at a trailing stop and I see a trailing stop of, say, someone puts a trailing stop of 25 cents in, that's a sensible trailing stop maybe for a $10 stock. It would be a ridiculous trailing stop for a $1,000 stock, and it wouldn't be a good trailing stop for a $1 stop. So my problem with kind of your generic, when the stock goes up, the trailing stop comes behind it by a couple pennies, and then when it goes down, it triggers, is that they're very generic in nature. One thing we're working on in the back end, I think I'm allowed to tease, but it's a long way to being completed, so don't hold your breath on it, is basically using moving averages and using volatility metrics and using things like that as trailing stops. And that's something that we're working on, and it's something that we're going to be pushing kind of relatively soon. But really, it has to be tested a lot, and it's kind of advanced exit. So, I guess I'll just start rambling, but I'll go about my how we can test that kind of already in the system. The easiest way to do that is just to use the advanced exit tab. So here's something we can back test, but we can't quite actually trade. But this is kind of what I'm talking about, where I have this algorithm that enters in the first few minutes of the day, and it's an auto trading thing. And before I get the question, no, unfortunately, I can't share this because it has a lot of custom formulas and things like that. But if I run this, it's basically going to test this auto trading entry. So it enters after the first 5 minutes and then stops after the first half hour. And it's a short strategy, and it's kind of a volatility continuation type of strategy. And if we back test it, we basically get a simple, did I do this? Did I include that? Yeah, I did. Let me remove that first and then show you guys. So this is what happens if you just say, for example, I want to short this, and then I want to hold it until the end of the day with a stop, and then the stop that I used is 1/4 ATR. You can see it's relatively good. I would ignore, to be honest, all of this here, simply because this is a short strategy that was looking for volatility continuation. All of that would have triggered kind of in that first initial, that drop that we had here in the SPY, right? So it's very important that when you're building algorithms, you kind of ignore the stuff that is going to be infrequent, even if it turns out nicely in your favor. So this giant spike in the equity curve would have corresponded with a couple days here, probably this one and then this one here. So I ignore those when I'm testing them. But you can see how even before that it was pretty good, and even after that's pretty good. But the volatility of this is pretty wild. Again, this just says short it when the algorithm says to short it, hold it until the end of the day, and don't do anything on top of that. But in the system, we actually have these advanced exits where you can build in your own exit criteria, kind of like another alert window that it will exit on that alert window. So what I did is I just said I want to do based off of volatility stop. So, when we look, this particular alert for a volatility stop is basically saying you can put in as many bars as you would like here. And when we reference bars in this area, what we're saying is the average size of a 15-minute bar. So I put 3 in. So basically what this is saying is as the stock moves lower and wiggles around, that's fine. But as soon as it moves up 3 times whatever the average length of a 15-minute bar is, then stop me out. So then if I can do that and rerun it, it should, let me see, wasn't really prepared going into this, but it should smooth out the results somewhat. Maybe it didn't. Maybe it was the same either way. But that kind of trailing stop, what I'm talking about, is the one that kind of fits, I think, a little bit better, one based off of the chart instead of based off just a generic kind of dollar or percentage type numbers. Just reading over in Slack, I guess when my dog barked, Andy's dog barked back at my dog from Texas. So, what an age to be in live. Dogs can just upset each other from all over the world. So when it comes to trailing stops, yeah, I guess the very rambling answer to that is yes, we have them, but they're just the generic trailing stops. And to be honest, I've never met an algorithm that did very well with those. I'm sure Andy notices I've been looking at your Extreme Master Blaster up here, and it's a really good little alert window going on that shows just a lot of cool things that are moving. I don't, sounds weird, but I don't really trade intraday. All of my trades will come from my bot, which you can see isn't doing fantastically today, but still okay. So what I do is I set up top lists to trade for me, or I have them these back-tested algorithms. So I'll either build an algorithm like this and say, okay, here, trade this, and I'll manage the position, or what I'll do is I will scan the market, and I have another, we can go to my scanning layout here once this is done. Don't you start down there. Wait for this to run. So I'll take something like this and I'll just run it. I optimize it every day so it has way less trading than 1,000 trades over a 3-month period. So I take the base strategy and I do some optimization to it to see kind of what's happening in the current market, and I run that. And then the other way that I trade is I take this nighttime scanning watch list or layout, where I'll go through and I'll scan for a couple different setups on the daily chart that I like, and then you can feed those into a symbol list and say, okay, trade that if certain situations occur. So, for example, I do like the look of this one here, and if this closes the way it is, it will go on the watch list for tomorrow, and I can basically program the bot and just say, listen, if it breaks yesterday's high and does it, without gapping down here or gapping up here first, or doing, some sort of crazy move or anything like that, or triggering in the first, 5-15 minutes of the day, then take the trade. And if not, then ignore it entirely. So what happens is I scan everything the night before. I've got them all fed into the system. They'll either trade or not trade depending on whatever that current price action is that day. And I just sit there and I wait for the trades to arrive to me, and then I just manage them as they come. And that's the best way to deal with my personal trading demon, which was over trading. That was my kind of problem. So the beauty, and that's what I really love about Trade Ideas, is if you're in it for long enough, you can find out where is your problem as a trader, and how can you use software to at least help mitigate it. So the question, hi, will there be a way to set a price target in Brokerage Plus so that a strategy will sell a position automatically once a dollar amount of profit is reached? Yeah, you can do that right now. What you can do is, let me open up So these are the strategies that I feed with symbol lists. So these aren't auto strategies, but they're ones that are going to trade based off a symbol list. So for example, each trade that comes through here, it will risk, it will risk $100 on any given trade right here. So that means, and that is based off of this stop loss amount, which is a custom formula that I wrote that basically just says put the stop at yesterday's low. So it just takes whatever. This particular setup is for this setup that you actually see right here. I call it a 1, 2, 3. I think it's called 1, 2, 3 by a lot of people, where you look for a bullish engulfing bar or a bearish engulfing bar if it's negative, and then in kind of an inside bar that incorporates the top end of that range, and then you look for a break of that. And then I want the stop to go right down here, so I set that. So if I know that that is going to be the risk of that particular trade is $100 on the stop at yesterday's low, then what I can do is I can just build a formula that's 2 times that, and then make that the profit target. So then the target, obviously, if the stop is risking 100, then the target will be making 200. So to do this more simply, if I say, listen, I want to risk 25 cents on any given trade, and I know the system's going to make it so that's a $100 maximum loss, then on target, if I say, okay, well, I want the target to be 50 cents, well, then I know the target amount will be $200. So that's a way you can do that kind of already in the system. And then you can just back into the math, right? If you wanted to say, I want it to take, instead of dollars, I want to take 100 shares, and I want to make $200 on any given trade, you can just back into the math and say, okay, well, that will be $2 a share, and just kind of go from there. So depending on what it is that you're after. Dog's already back to sleep, so it obviously wasn't. It's a false alarm. I just saw a quick change I need to make here. So that is kind of the long and short of me and how I trade. I'm very algorithmic and quantitative in nature, and basically that's for emotional control, which is kind of the way that I trade personally. So JF, and if you have any other questions about Holly or Brokerage Plus or anything like that, I am definitely your guy for all of that stuff, guys. So ping me away. So JF asks, is there a way to prevent Holly trading stocks that are illiquid? Not currently, right now. So there's liquidity filters for pretty much everything that Holly does. We can go back over to this guy here. So every trade that Holly does has liquidity filters built in, but everybody's definition of what is illiquid is going to be different for everybody. Some people are okay if you're trading 50 to 100 shares, you're okay with less. Some people, they want to have more of volume. I know Sean gets violently ill if there's a stock ever under $20. For me, it doesn't bother me that much. But currently, it is as it is. The way to get around if you're worried about trading spready type stuff is to make your limit offset to enter fairly small. And what will happen is if the spread's too high, you just won't get that stock. But coming down the road, we are actually going to build in some customization a user can do where they can say, I don't want a stock over, for example, I don't want a stock under, $20 to ding it, Sean, again. You could say that in the system. We're working on that. The issue with that is that there's no way to test all these possible combinations and permutations and customizations of all this. So what's going to happen is that we're going to be able to do it. We're just not going to be able to show kind of the results in that way. There'd just be too many combinations of different results. Like we get people in all the time and say, how much money am I going to make if I'm going to use Holly? It's like, okay, well, there's three different modules and three different modes for each module, and then human intervention and all of these different types of things. So short answer, not yet, but there will be some customization soon. But there is volatility filters kind of built in for everything. Now, if we all remember, I just talked about my favorite setup, which was a big engulfing elephant bar, I've heard it called, or a big strong up or down bar, basically on the daily, and that's followed by a inside day, and that inside day is kind of contained. The open and the close is contained within the lower half for a short and the upper half for a long, and then you look for a break and a continuation. And if you look at a lot of these charts on the indices, they are setting up that actual particular setup, and that's something that I spend most of my trading comes from this particular type of setup, where I find the stocks that I think have kind of the best results that will trigger the next day, and then go from there. Yeah, if your internet's all of these are recorded and uploaded. It's done automatically by YouTube. I initially had it turned off so it wouldn't do that, and then we had some people saying, "Oh, well, I missed the session. I'd really like to see." So, if you want, you can watch kind of all 9 hours that you see in Trade Ideas that we're doing here on the YouTube. You can go back and watch all of it if you're very interested in it. That IYR, I know we were talking about real estate, Sean, the other day, and that again, if the week closes somewhere near here, where I honestly think it is, I don't think we're going to see that wild of a market today at all. They're all setting up this setup for me anyway, that I've done some kind of extensive testing on, and is statistically bearish. So it's geez, UNG is still getting killed. Home builders not doing well either. Another thing I like to do with this scan is actually add in a column of position columns. And we can say position in 9-month range. And then we can sort this by kind of what's in the high end of the range and what's in the low end of the range. And you can see pretty much the financials are taking the worst hit, as you know, compared to what they were 9 months ago. You can do 12 months or 6 months or whatever, but it's just a good way to sort, right? TLT, gold, and IBB are doing well, which makes sense. And then XLF, USO, IWM are doing the worst. So what's interesting here is that the SPY is still kind of above its 9-month range, whereas the XLF is actually below now its 9-month range. And more importantly, the IWM is even to a little bit below its 9-month range. So these small caps, which I know there's a lot of people out there that kind of take a look and think that the small caps lead in some way, which there has been some study on. It's, you know, not perfect, but it does happen sometimes. And you know, if they're tanking, and for me, I know I'm biased with this, but I always pay close attention to the XLF, and I'm biased because I started trading around the financial collapse, or 2 years or so before the financial collapse. So I did a lot of trading of the financials because they were the hot button stocks at the time. And to me, it makes sense that if you have to have a strong economy, you need a strong financial sector. And the fact that the financials are kind of the weakest here on my list is making me, not worried. I'm a trader. My biggest position right now is short, so I'm okay with all of that. But it's not it's not a big bullish case, we'll put it that way. So that's gone through pretty much my entire list here. Again, I go through this list every day at the end of the day, and then every week at the end of the week, and then every month at the end of the month, just to get kind of an overall picture in my head. I think it's more subconscious than anything. I usually got some chill music going on in the background or Netflix up or something. It's a pretty passive thing, but I think there's a certain amount of learning that happens through osmosis, if lack of a better term. So, just like last week, I talked a bit about how I'm going to approach this from stocks that I'm going to look to buy when and if the bounce happens. And what I'm going to look to buy is high short float. And this is a channel that I really like. That's a lot of Steve Gomez's plays, but it's looking for really high short interest stocks. And I have one of these myself. Let's just go. Keep bopping back and forth. Let's go over to here to this and see if I can find my Squeeze Me scan. Because my theory, and again, this is something that's been studied, and you'll hear me say that a lot, but it's what I do. Where we know the right behavior as traders is to, if you've got two positions and you're going to sell one, we know the right thing to do is to sell the loser. Right? If one's making money and one's losing money, you should sell the loser, right? You should tax, right? I don't want to talk about tax though, but in theory, if you have one stock doing well and one stock not doing well, we know because the market is not normally distributed that the one that trends generally persists. So the stock that you're in that's doing well has a better chance of continuing to do well, and the stock that you're in that's doing poorly has a better chance of continuing to do poorly. Just basic statistics. But human nature, it generally always happens the other way around, where if they've got two stocks to sell, they'll sell the one that they're up on and keep the one that they're down on. And it's because, right, they've got that hope of, I want the stock that I'm down on to turn around, and the stock that I'm up on, I don't care if it I'm worried that it's going to come back. So I think it was reminiscent of a stock operator where he says people basically fear losing profits and then hope that losses turn into profits, which is, again, completely the opposite way around. So when the market is tanking like this, I build up this little scan, and this is one that I actually can share if any of you guys are interested, which again was built by Steve, where it looks for stocks with just incredibly high short floats. So what I do is I scan this, and I'll use the price alert feature or the way that I told you where I auto trade. I add these to a symbol list, and then I tell it to trade if and when things occur. I look for stocks that hold up pretty well in a weak tape with a high short float, putting myself in the shoes of the person who's saying, okay, well, the whole world is short this. If there's any buying at all that starts happening, where are the people going to go to? They're going to go to the thing that, again, generally speaking, if a stock has had a high short float for a long period of time, it means it's generally down, right? If we look at lumber liquidators, if you were short this, if you're sitting in a hedge fund, you're sitting in the portfolio and you're short this stock, then you basically made money at any point other than, say, the last month. So if they're looking at their portfolio and they're saying, okay, well, what should I sell? I have a margin call, or what should I cover? I have a margin call. They're going to go gravitate to that thing that we know that they shouldn't do, which is the stock that they're up the most on. And then if you get a good short squeeze, we all remember the Tesla short squeeze, right? This is the kind of most recent big squeeze that I could see. I worked in the hedge fund space and watched a guy get absolutely obliterated in a $2.5 billion hedge fund because the time that Volkswagen became the most valuable company on the planet for an hour or something when it had its massive short squeeze. I guess only older traders will remember that. But so what I do is I just go through this list and I say, okay, what is holding up okay and what has kind of an incredibly large short float? So I already own Lumber Liquidators, but I'm actually looking to pick up more if it breaks 10. And again, that's my theory, is that where are the hedge funds going to go to liquidate? They're probably going to go to liquidate on the ones that they're up the most of. if that kind of starts a short squeeze with these heavily short floats, you're talking 55% in the short for lumber liquidators. These things can get nutty pretty quick. And I'm not a win rate guy. I don't focus on win rate. I know enough to know that the best people in the world, regardless of what they're telling you, have win rates of 55 to 60%. So really it all comes down to risk management. So what I look for is things with kind of disproportional upside moves. Like Zoom, I think a lot of this move in Zoom is just the massive short float that has taken place here. So again, we are here for questions. We're here for another 20 minutes or so. I've just been rambling the entire time, but feel free to ask questions. We got a few people in here. I like to see that the number of watchers are slowly growing. Again, give feedback on the format, give feedback on the timing, give feedback, right? Do you guys prefer this over the GoToWebinar kind of close events? We need to hear from you guys to kind of know what we do, right? We try to be really great when it comes to support and offer more support than most, but your guys' feedback certainly helps kind of tailor what we're going to do going forward. So again, if I were to do a trade of the week, which thank God I don't, because mine would not be nearly as good as Steve's, but lumber liquidators is I think what I'm going to be watching. Again, I already own some, full disclosure, but I'm going to be watching some of this for what's next. I just think, right, if we switch back and forth, if we take a look here at the SPY, and we've obviously fallen dramatically in the last little bit, whereas lumber liquidators has been holding pretty well. That's good. Kyle says, I like the format. Tuned in each day. Learn something each day. I like it as well. I like the fact that there's different traders out here. Sean is an options guy, and Steve and Andy, they have their own kind of that swing scalping style. So everybody, I'm quantitative and algorithmic in nature, so I'm more of kind of the brokerage plus AI type of guy. So yeah, you're getting a different point of view. I'm just grabbing that trade of the week link for you. So I just see a question, where do I get the trade of the week? So every week, trade ideas, and I'm just going to post this down below here. So if you click on that and sign up, every week Trade Ideas puts out a trade of the week, and it's done by Steve and Andy, and they use all of our technology and our this is free, which is great, and it's got a great track record of we don't actually just track because everybody's going to trade it differently, but of the ones that I've seen, it does a great job. When they trigger, you generally get a good plan to trade around it as well. In just what the last one was actually cash during all this. They're generally only long because we're looking at, they're not day trades, they're swing trades, or position trades, or however long you want to hold them. But to be in cash for this period of time has been great, and it may, I don't know, I don't want to put words in Steve's mouth, but this is not the best looking day here as well. So for me, I've got a couple longs and a couple shorts, as you guys have seen there, but mostly just kind of waiting for everything to chill out, which there's absolutely no shame in doing, especially if you're a new trader. My advice I give out every time there is kind of a volatile type market like this is that if you're new, if you have not seen a crazy market like this, just take what you're normally doing, double the stop loss that you would normally put in, and drop your shares by half and use that as a starting point. As volatility increases, the market changes, things are a lot harder to go from there. The question coming in, hi, in custom fields, can I reference 15-minute high-low open close, 1 bar back, 2 bar back, so on and so forth? Not at this time. You can reference yesterday's high-low and open close, today's high-low and open close, and then any filter that you can see within Trade Ideas itself. So unfortunately, not at this time. There is something that we've been working on for a while now that would allow that level of customization. And it's, again, no ETA on it, but it is something that we're working on. We're just trying to figure out the best way to implement that. It's always that struggle that we have here where we have an incredibly robust system. I talked to a guy last night, actually, for a while, who is an engineer by trade, and he had a hard time learning the system. So the more customization we add, the more complexity we add. So we're walking this kind of fine line. But I guess the long and short of it is we are working on that. That's something that should be out soon-ish. No ETA, but so you can do things like reference the 15-minute range. You can reference the 30-minute range. You can use any of the candlestick setups that we have built in. But at this time, you can't just go, okay, I want the high of yesterday's candle. Maybe if you tell me a bit what you would like to do, Val, I can see if there's something that we can get you that's close. But, again, we're still working on it for sure. It's interesting. These scans that I'm usually looking at are pretty dead right now, to be perfectly honest. And I think this is going to be a hard one for me as mostly a swing trader. Again, all the intraday trading I do is all kind of robotic in nature. And then the rest I do is swing trading. But I haven't been doing much in the way of anything, to be honest, the last little bit. I've been taking a lot of swing trade scalps. I've been trading Holly Neo, which isn't doing the best today, but is generally a pretty good one in this type of market. And then just waiting for everything to chill out. I think we may get something crazy happening over the weekend just because the market likes to hurt the most amount of people, and it can do that on the weekend. So I'm not planning on loading up or doing anything super fancy today at all. So let's go back here and let's just see what the AI is up to. I know Barry doesn't show it, but it's almost 1 o'clock. It's the middle of the day. There wouldn't really be much else in the way of trading. Again, not a great day for it, but show me a trader and I'll show you someone who doesn't always have good days. The Alpha Predator might be something to focus on for this. Hello. And then this one. There we go. It's a little glitch there. And this Alpha Predator channel is basically just looking for kind of low float, quick movers. SPX is actually looking kind of interesting here. It's had this big strong push up in the open. I think I saw someone talking about SPX here, which is a good trade, and now it's kind of holding pretty well. Might actually be interesting over kind of 158 stop, around 138, so 20 cents or so at risk. That would mean that you would want to be able to make... Nah, see, that's not interesting to me. So how I look at these trades myself, I am entering them myself, which again, I do less and less. It just doesn't suit my personality as much as having the algos trade for me and manage them. But you see what I just did there, and I kind of said, an entry point above, so call it 160, might be interesting, but the stop's got to be 20-30 cents away. So for it to be a decent enough trade for me, I would need to be able to comfortably get 3 times my risk. So I looked out and say, okay, well, where is 60 cents? Well, that's $2. It's probably going to have some resistance at $2. There's a little bit of resistance I see here before $2. So it's just not kind of a high probability trade or something that I would be super interested in. Again, that's just for me. Where this OOMA, not enough volume. You can see gaps on the intraday chart, but this is something I'd be more interested in, where you could, if you think this is going to continue, you could get some around 14.50, and then you'd probably stop at around 14.30, so that's 20 cents. So 3 times that would be 60 cents. So could we get 15 and above? And then I look left on the chart here, and I don't see too much, so this would be a little bit more interesting. But again, just not 193,000 shares done today. not too interesting. So what you may want to do is pop out a list like this and then customize it and just say, I want something with a little bit more volume. So volume today, this only has 50,000. Let's just make that 250,000 there. GNCA. It's getting a little bit of a move going on here. BKD, geez. Senior living facility just absolutely crushed this week. But that'd be interesting for bottom fishers. Very much trying to get out of that world. That world has done more harm than good to me over the length of time. So we got another 12 minutes here. Again, I'm just kind of rambling away. If anyone wants to know anything, it doesn't really even need to be 100% trade ideas related. That freaking guy. Yeah, it doesn't even have to necessarily be trade ideas related. So if you just have questions about trading at all, keep it market focused. But anything about that, just let me know. If you don't mind sharing, why does the AI not take profit when it's on the table? It depends on what mode you're trading it in, to be perfectly honest. It does for if you're trading in conservative mode. It essentially has, you can see here, profit save, and profit save in. So when you see kind of profit save here, that means that's exactly what it was doing. So it was looking at ENZ and it saw a little bit of profit and then pulled it back. But profit on the table is a very loose kind of definition of everything, right? If you took profit every time it was on the table, right, are you talking 1 cent in your favor or 10 cents in your favor or 20 cents in your favor? And then what happens if the risk is large outside of that? Instead of, you're taking profits every time 10 cents of profit is on the table, well, then if you have one stop of 50 cents, well, then you've got a 1 to 5 risk reward ratio, which is the death of a trader. There's a saying that I absolutely hate in the market because it's not true and it hurts more than it helps, is that you can't go broke taking profits, where there's been exhaustive studies done on trend following systems from the beginning of time until now, and most of them generally have, call it a 40% to 50% win rate. Most have less than that. Most have 35 to 40% win rates. So what saves a system that has an under a 50-50 win rate? It's just simply that when it nails a winner, that winner is far outweighed by any loss that would have occurred from that trade. So that's essentially what we do. So risk off, it has a couple trailing stop algorithms in it. That's something that we're working to improve in the near future. So that's kind of where it will say, okay, this thing pushed up a little bit, now it's coming back, let me get out. However, when we've done the studies, we show that actually leaving it over the long run works out much better. The problem is a lot of people are they look day by day as opposed to week by week or month by month, how their strategy is doing. So you can trade in that risk off mode. I honestly suggest trading in risk on or moderate, I guess it's called now, and then managing those exits yourself. Just because the ones that really go, you want to give them time to go. For example, this ENZ. So in risk on mode or risk off mode, this is stopped out. However, I look at this and I actually say this is holding up really well. The initial stop was 286 and the entry was about here. And we can see it pop up a little bit here. I wouldn't be out of this. I would be still holding on to this particular position simply because it has no reason to get out. So it's really a kind of a personal type of thing where, some people would say, okay, no, this is chopped around way too much. What I would have done on this position is my stop would just be up under this recent low here. So I would have tightened it to maybe 286 to maybe right under $3, and then away it goes. Interesting, was just curious, only started using this week. I seem to exit way sooner than the AI. Is that because the AI calculator has more room to move? So essentially what happens with the AI is that it takes the initial run of the many thousands of trades and says, this is what I project that a reasonable profit would be. Now that's done on thousands and thousands and thousands of trades. So what you end up seeing is maybe 5 a day. So with the calculation done on many thousands of trades, it's basically a target or a stop of best fit for that length of time and that length of trading. So the the difficulty there is then customizing that for each individual trade in each individual stock. And again, as the AI learns and as we build it out, the part of the reason Trade has brought me in is I love to study this kind of stuff. So I'm always thinking of ways to tweak it myself. But so again, what the AI do is it's fitting the millions of simulated trades that it's doing each night, and it's trying to find stops and targets of best fit. Whereas I believe that where humans still exist, because again, as soon as this is just you can beat the market with a math equation, there's no need for us anymore. So where I think humans still exist is things like nuance. So we're better at saying, okay, this one hasn't stopped out. Let me move the stop. It did a good job holding into the pre-market range and the top end of the range. So this kind of detailed nuance analysis is where a human comes in. And that's kind of how I recommend people trade the AI, is understand that it's a great stock picker, right? We publish the performance every day, so we're not hiding anything. It's right here. You can see it's down today. We're not cherry picking anything. But what your goal should be is not just to turn it on, walk away, and make a couple bucks. You should be competing against it. How can I beat this? How can I have it take a trade and come up with my own system on how I'm going to manage it, and use the ability that I have as a human still with my nuanced approach to look at things like, how is the overall market doing? What's the sentiment out there? What's the news out there? I would be shocked if we see a crazy rally today, just because the sentiment is so bad and the news is so bad out there. I would also be shocked if we see a complete sell-off today, just because I don't think anybody really wants to do anything going into the close of today. Whereas things like this, I think, are great to stack onto the AI and onto a backtester and onto a trading system, which is why, even as a guy who is deep into kind of the quant world, I still, in every single style of trading I do, whether it's scanning the stocks the night before, adding them to a symbol list and having them trade it for me, or whether it's building algorithms myself and managing the risks myself, I still marry that, my brain with the technology, as opposed to just letting the technology go or just letting myself trade. And to be honest, that's, I spent a lot of time just pure auto trading, and I spent a lot of time pure manual trading, and there's definitely, ways to profit in both. The way that I found that's best, not only for my account, but just for my sanity, is that kind of, that middle ground. That, where do I let the machine go and where do I let I go? It's like, the way I kind of equate it is that, you plug into Google Maps that you're going somewhere, but you do that in your own town, and it sends you down a road, and that road is just a pain in the ass to go down. Google Maps doesn't, because it just says, okay, this is the most efficient route. Here's the average speed that everybody travels on these roads, and it does all of this kind of algorithmic calculation. It says, okay, take this route. But it may not know that there's that goes by this like really busy bar, and there's somebody playing that night that's super popular, and that's going to be just a hellish way to traverse this. So you override it and you say, no, I want to go around this, this event or this road or whatever, and then have the robot and have the system recalculate it. So it's going to tell you how to get from point A to point B, which is why I use all of the entries are done either algorithmically or, stocks that I say I'm interested in trading this tomorrow, take the trade if all of these things occur. and then I apply my nuance the same way as I say I want to get from here to here, but I'm going to kind of, if I think that you're steering me a little bit wrong, I'm going to, move, but I'm going to trust that you know where the start and the end is. And, I'm going to make a little adjustments along the way. And that's the same as I do with Holly. Every Holly trade I make is an intraday trade because I know it's all back tested for intraday. So I will use the start point as the entry and then the end point as the close of the day. But then where I take profits, I'll do it there. The other thing to note is that we have Holly set up for all in and all out. It's either it's in or it's an 100% out. Whereas, Mark Douglas, we talked about trading in the zone. One of the big things that he teaches is selling in parts. And that's one thing that I do with all of my trading as well. If it buys you 100 shares and the stock's moved $2, $3 in your favor, with commissions as cheap as they are now, there's no reason why you wouldn't say, okay, I'm going to take $100 and just put it in my pocket and then move the stop up from there, right? There's no reason why you have to be all in and all out as well, which again is another reason that I kind of recommend people set it to moderate mode where they can manage things themselves and then take profits on maybe parts of positions, move stops, again, a little nuance of trading around positions. And again, back to what I've said before, that I think that, the best in the world have a 50% win rate or 50 to 60% win rate. It's that basically, I think you could set a good trader on a 50-50 coin flip and tell him he can only manage the risk on the trades, that each trade that comes in will have a 50% chance winning and losing, and a good trader will make money in that scenario. And it's because he's, cutting the things that aren't working earlier, and he's letting the things that run longer, and he's taking partial profits, and he's moving stops. And it's this kind of nuanced game that I really think traders should focus on now that you can just get a machine to enter the stocks for you. Now that the stock picking is kind of the easy part of the game, the hard part of the game is the tweaking and changing and all of this. So, all right, guys, that is it for this session. We will be back on Monday, same time, same channel, same bat time, same bat channel, 12 to 1 Eastern, Monday to Friday. I'll turn off the stream, and then in just a few moments, Barry will be back. Sometimes you got to just refresh the web page or something like that, but Barry will be back until the end of the day. No problem. Yeah, it's just the comment on the dog. I got to go take him for a walk so he stops trying to eat everything in the house. All right, guys, I will talk to you later.
All right, I'm now streaming again on YouTube. All right, guys. Okay, so the stocks majors. Well, you can create a symbol list and just look at the stocks that you want to. No, it isn't. No, it's a top list. It is not the same. Let me just bring it up here. Well, it's right here in the scans. I also have a lot of other things, down big yesterday, up big today, up big yesterday, down big today, things like that. That may be of interest to you guys. But the trend reversal, as an example, trend reversal up. So if I click on that link, and I copy the link, file, load from cloud, there it is. There's the link right in there. Load it. So here it is. Now, are they all... It's a matter now of taking a look at what is coming up on it. So you can see these are usually stocks that have been beaten up on the daily at least and maybe trying to come back. They're not all going to look, it's a matter of, stocks that have been beaten up trying to come back. This is, if you look at the bigger time frames, some of them look better than if you just look on a daily chart. So it's a matter of cycling through the stocks one by one, and you might see something, yeah, I like the looks of that one. All right, so there's an idiot. But you know what? He left before I could ban him. Broker to recommend. Well, I mean, I use Interactive Brokers. A lot of us use Interactive Brokers. It works if you wanted to use what we call our Brokerage Plus platform. Order entry, you'd need an Interactive Brokers account. But, it's, I don't want to say recommendation. I've been using it for 3 years, over 3 years. Lots of people have Interactive Brokers. Commissions are pretty good. And it works in lots of different countries. So Skeff, subscriptions. Are you still listening? I don't understand what you mean, a broker who trades such stocks. What do you mean? Stocks majors? I'm not sure I know what you mean by stocks majors. I mean, Interactive Brokers trades virtually any stock, so. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm talking to you, Salman. Yeah, most brokerages, I don't know who your broker is, but most brokerages will trade anything you're seeing here, and of course, way more. So somebody asked about subscriptions. So if you click on the subscriptions link right here, right there in the subscriptions tab in the trading room, and subscribe to Trade Idea. So there is a promo code right there. Barry for Alpha, all in caps, except for the number 4, of course. Instant 15% savings off the first month or the entire year. And here is the pricing. So I mean the top plan, top plan is the premium yearly, $22.68 a year minus the 15%, or the standard $10.68 a year minus the 15%. The huge difference is the AI, and if you wanted to auto trade anything, you would need our premium service. But of course, if you're just trying us out, you're not sure, I would not take a premium annual plan. Why not start off with a standard monthly, $118 a month, less that 15%, or the premium, $228 less the 15%. Try us out for a month. If you like us and you want to upgrade within 30 days, you can do so, and we'll still honor the promo code. So that's basically what the subscriptions are. All right, I'd like to see a link to that news, please, Lackey. I'm not suggesting it's not happening, but I'd like to see a link to that news. Okay, yeah, but where does it say that they specifically are going to be meeting with Codex? I'm reading the news. I don't see where it specifically says that they are meeting with Mike Pence, okay? Just trying to make sure this is not a pump. Okay? Yeah, but that doesn't, unless I'm reading this wrong, yeah, that doesn't say that they specifically, all they're saying is, hey, we're in the market. Okay? So, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to delete those posts. I'm sorry, but I am going to delete those posts. What the hell is going on? Yeah, I mean, it doesn't say they're meeting, he's meeting specifically with that company. Okay, it's just, really, the press release is saying, hey, we're a company that can supply this. Yeah, right, okay. Listen, I'm not trying to really dump all over you, but seem to ban a post. Ah, okay. I don't know, I'm talking to myself. All right, guys, listen, I have to do my video now. I did my video yesterday, and unfortunately, I forgot to turn off my music. So, it didn't get posted. So, make sure I turn my music off right now before I do anything else. Okay. Okay, guys, so I will be doing my video now. And let's see what's happening now. Just winding it down, 135. I'll be shutting the room definitely. Definitely at 3 o'clock. Maybe sooner, who knows. BJ is starting to actually, this could turn into an interesting short underneath that whole number now. Seems like years ago that I took this as a long early this morning. A lot of promise. Looked like it could really continue on that second day earnings play, but it just didn't do it. Ping Identity Holdings. There's one that is moving pretty nicely. On the flip side, CBRE on the way down through the 200-day moving average also. And what is the SPY doing? So the SPY is just kind of, yeah, I mean, look how choppy this is. This really makes, I mean, look, I'm not saying there were no trades at all in terms of trends, but this makes it very much more difficult to find a lot of trending plays. Not saying there are none. All right, guys. You know what? I'm just going to start taking some trades for fun here. Well, for fun in the simulator. Let's. In fact, what I'm going to do, for some reason, I do not. Oh, there it is. Limit short 100 shares. I want to create the limit short. The limit short with $100 risk. I thought there was a way to duplicate the window. Duplicate it. All right, well, let's just start from scratch. I'm going to call it short $100 risk. So I'm going to create a brand new strategy, new trading strategy. It's a short. I'm going to call it short $100 risk. Risk. It's a short, and I'm going to okay, wait a minute. What's going on here? Why are these here? I know why. Okay, just give me a second here. It's something maybe I didn't know. I don't know why this is here. All right, give me a second here. I'm just playing around with something here. I just want to see. Oh, I just blew that. Okay. Okay, guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reload my... Okay, just give me a second here. All right, listen, I'm just going to take a trade. I'm sorry. I was trying to do something and I'm not 100% sure how to do it. So I'm going to take a trade. I can't remember which one. Oh, the BJ. That's right. I was going to... so this is continuing down, guys. Should have taken this trade. I was talked about that on that 24 break. Problem is, you see, when I'm trying to do this short, even though it doesn't work because it doesn't want to recognize the type of stop that I have in place, and I'm not sure why. So I really haven't showed. See, if I do this, I don't think it's going to recognize it. Yeah, it's not recognizing the stop. I could change the stop, but I'd like this. I would like the stop to be the way I've organized it, and it doesn't want to recognize it as a custom stop. Anyway, let me do something. I have to take a long. I mean, I'm just going to have to find some long trade. So let's take a look at the GNCA. GNCA, okay, so let's do this. Let's see if it broke over 240. So I'm going to stick the trade right there. So there's the stop, 196. That's a pretty big stop. And I can always adjust it afterwards once it takes the trade. It hasn't taken the trade yet. It has to get up to 240 before it takes the trade. Now, if I drop it down, it'll take the trade. So it just took the trade. Okay, so 270 shares. Took it automatically because it basically takes the entry minus a stop times the number of shares will give you about $100 because I'm risking $100 on the trade. And that was all set up. That was all, oh, SPEX is making another new high, guys. So that was all set up right here. Chart long, $100 risk. There's the based on the stop loss, risking $100 on the trade. And there is my stop, custom stop. And so these two working hand to hand in tandem, that is what dictates how many shares it will automatically take. Meanwhile, SPEX, wow. Another break here for it, and it is now right at the 200-day moving average. SPEX right at the two, just popping above it now. There's that 200-day moving average right here. And man, you look left, the next high looking left on the daily chart is 217, and man, the fantasy void way up here at 369. If I want to well, it's already filled it, so that's can't do that. But if I put in a conditional order, and a conditional order for me would be obviously something above the share price. You know, I'd like to get a fill above because if it hits that price, it looks like it might continue. So that's what I mean by a conditional order. But if I ever wanted to cancel it, I just have to go to the orders and cancel it. Now this is already filled, so of course I can't cancel it. I could cancel the stop, but what I do with that, you know, I can just move the stop now up and down right in the chart. I'd probably put it there. It makes more sense to maybe be right here. Haven't seen IGT, of course, has been down probably, is this the third day now? Yeah, so interesting reaction to earnings. It actually popped way up on earnings, but sold right off. And 2 days ago kind of base, and then yesterday down, and now today again, it's above the open, but it's still down. And meanwhile, SPEX continues to rip here. In fact, you'd say SPX is like a rocket ship. There we go. There's Rocket. Sorry. There's Rocket right here. Rocket Pharmaceuticals. Big volume coming into it. It's just a virus play, Rashi. There's no breakthrough. I mean, it's just a super low float. Traders are piling into it. It's just a virus play. You know, signs exclusive agreement with the University of Maryland for technology, set forth in methods of treating the virus. So, I mean, seeing more and more of these, though, teaming up with universities, putting some university in the PR. Now, if somebody teams up with, say, Johns Hopkins, okay. All right, Vicky, let's take a look at pump. Cross on deck on the 15s, okay, yes. I can see that right there. So this is what Vicky is talking about. She's talking about that orange line right there. That's the 8 EMA. The blue line is the 20 SMA. If that cross on deck, so it hasn't quite happened, but if it crosses it, that tends to be a bullish situation. It can be. Let's put it that way. Okay, now she's talking. Yeah, okay, there it is on the 5s, way down here. Even better. I don't like this. Why is this? So BJ's actually having a pop here. What's the market doing? Oh, the market's moving down. Market is moving down a little bit. Boy, this has no support. HES, really no support until about 40. That is HES. And I'm not saying it's going to get there, but look at the volume. Big volume. Yeah, ENZ, you're right. ENZ is starting to move. But again, at 478 area, right up here. Right up in this area. Might be tough to get through. Well, I like to follow my watch list, Danny. So it's not, and I'm always following my Momo up and Momo down. But it's my watch list that I really pay attention to. So it's not so much so I mean, if you ask me what I'm looking at the most, it's my watch list and these two. But that is because I am more of a momentum trader, either on the upside or the downside. Well, if you're a subscriber, Danny, all you have to do is click on New Channel Bar. New from the toolbar, New Channel Bar, and then My Windows right there. That's a layout. Everything in a channel bar is a layout, but you'll have these 3 windows then. But remember, this is a layout. So before if you're gonna load this, make sure you save your layout to the cloud first. So this is what people do. Now on Friday afternoon, which is today, I will change the name I will change the symbol list name. So you'll have to load these. Like what a lot of people do is they load this Monday morning before the market opens. They save these 3 windows to the cloud. Okay, save them to the cloud. Then they load their layout. And then they bring these 3 windows back from the cloud and then save their layout again. So, and you only have to do that one time Monday morning. So then if that's what you want to do. But you have to do it once a week because I do change the symbol list name. That this is right now. Symbol list is Cure. Okay, I'll be changing that after hours today. So the bottom line is, if you save this and then you start watching it on Monday and you don't reload a new one, you'll have no alerts. Because there will be, first of all, Cure will disappear. Well, Cure will disappear. There won't be a symbol list named Cure anymore. Not during the week. Oh, I changed the symbols. Oh, yes, 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 of course. Of course. I change them every night. So again, the question was, do I change the symbols that appear in the symbol list? Yeah, so I mean, again, the exercise is that, these, now I did a reload, so there are a few more in each one of these, but if I did a history, I'd see all the ones that actually were extracted from the symbol list today. But not every symbol. So I have a symbol list right now. I don't know how many symbols there are. There may be, we'll call it a watch list. I know most people call it a watch list, so we'll call it a watch list. So I have a watch list that's made up of maybe 30, 35 symbols. But they don't all, of course, get alerted during the day. I don't want that. I want a manageable number. So I put some filters in here, in both of these, to prevent just everything from triggering. So in theory, it's only the best. We'll call it only the best. But once the market closes today, I will look at every single symbol that's in my symbol list. I'll load them, look at the daily, weekly, monthly chart, and see whether or not I think, okay, nothing happened with it today. Do I think maybe I could still carry it forward to the next day, Monday, being Monday? So that will be the exercise I go through, and then plus I have other scans that I look at. Which again, all these other scans, I load the symbols one by one, check the daily, weekly, monthly, and then I make a determination whether I think those symbols, which one of those symbols should be added to the watch list. So that's the exercise I go through every day. So there will be some there will be some carryovers, and then there will be new symbols every day. And the good news is you guys don't have to do anything. All you have to do is load the channel and, watch them. Look at the Magnavox, Macrogenics, lifetime low now. You remember this, remember back, I think it was back here. Remember they had some tremendous run. They had it looked like tremendous news. I remember this. This is back in it was here. It was in 2018, or maybe it was here. I don't know. We have these spikes here. I think it was last year. It was January of last year. Had a tremendous run on some really interesting news. I remember they did I think a financing around 20 after that, and look at it now. Time is it? All right, last hour or less. Well, I hope the market settles down just a little bit next week so I can resume auto trading the entries of my alert windows. Yeah, Robert, you're right. Yeah, good reminder. I hate it. Lose an hour of sleep. You're right, though. All right, guys. So I haven't actually talked too much about the price action. I've talked about the competitors a little bit, but not so much the price action. I didn't realize we actually have a toggle now. It's a little easier to go back between the two of them. Now this is something that is hopefully in the build for next week, a beta for next week. This similar tab, and it is pretty cool. So let's take a look at how this works. So when I look at Macrogenics, all right, I click on it. So what I've done here is I've duplicated the window, duplicated the single stock window, duplicated it. It's easy to do, just duplicate. And then I put the similar here. I duplicated it again. I put the similar here again, okay? And with the competitors toggle, see, I've got you see it says competitors and price action. So I've got competitors. So what does that mean? So when I click on say MGNX, so what it's doing is, and why I've got both of them, I want to see the ones that are up the most. So I've sorted on change from the close percent. I want to see the ones that are down the most. So I've sorted again, and I've just sorted it in the different fashion. Okay. So what this is doing, it's showing me, okay, in MGNX, these are similar. These are all the stocks in its sector, and here are the big stocks. Here are the big winning stocks. Here are the big losing stocks in its sector. Now, I don't see MGNX. It's down for. That's because I would have to expand the window a lot. You know, and it would be down, where are you? It's somewhere here. Why can't I see it? I don't know. But anyway, it should be somewhere there. But the bottom line, though, is that especially if you want to follow a sector for the day or several sectors for the day. So what you can do now is you can take this sector and you can pop it out, using the pop out. So now here is pharmaceutical preparation. Here is the sector. Here are all the stocks in that sector. Okay? And you can start following those stocks if that's all you wanted to do. And because this is now a top list, you can add as many filters as you want. You know, you can make it a price range you want. You know, you can get the price range you want, minimum volume that you want, maybe a relative volume. So you can really tighten it up if that's what you want to do. And so if you're interested in looking at a very specific sector, it's really simple to do. Of course, you can always turn this into an alert window. So that's one aspect of it. Okay, so that is the comparison of a stock within its same sector. Now this one, which I haven't been using because for me, I need more filters. So what this is doing, it's looking for stocks that are similar in pattern. Okay, similar in pattern to say HT. It won't be in the same sector, but similar pattern, for instance. And the problem I'm finding is that, well, I should do it here. If I do it, I'll toggle it in here. Oops. Oops. Okay, let me find another. Let's take specs as an example. Specs. So these are stocks. You know, I mean, so looking at specs, this is up. I mean, I'm not saying it's necessarily the same pattern, but it's looking at stocks that have really surged a lot. Okay, so there's specs, trib, and FUTU now. Okay, as an example. So it's looking at price action now as opposed to comparing stocks within the same sector. What really needs to happen is we need to be able to, I mean, at the end of the day, it's not so bad. I mean, I'm looking at the volume here. It's not so bad. It's not terrible. And again, you could pop this out. And so now you're seeing stocks with maybe similar price action. You know, so there are a lot of things happening. We're trying to really enhance the experience. And hopefully that'll be available next week. I like right now the competitors more. You don't have it yet, Stan. That's what I'm saying. Hopefully it's a release for next week, a beta release for next week. It's just not available yet. So it's conceivable. What you could do is that you could pop out two windows, one with price action and one with a sector that you're following. And maybe just, stare at those for a while or all day if a sector is really in play, as an example. So, here's Carnival, scenic and sightseeing, transportation, water. Pretty drilled down, okay? There's only three in here, well, and CUK and CCL are the same. All right, guys, what time is it? 2:11. Only 11 minutes have gone by since I asked the time before. Well, I know I mentioned this one probably around here, this HT. It had a little pop up, and now HT is starting to drift more and more. HT. Now, you know what? This GNCA, it could get interesting. We've seen a couple of plays like this earlier this week. I can't remember the names of the stocks, but stocks that based for a long time. Then all of a sudden, towards the end of the day, they got some volume, like imagine a little volume bar like that. Got some volume, popped out of consolidation, and had a run. So keep an eye on the GNCA. I mean, it did hit 259. So if it approached those highs again, it could have a shot at getting up to this area. No, that's what I'm saying, H. In an upcoming beta. Hopefully next week. Okay. You're going to have to. In fact, what I'm going to do now, yeah, maybe I will do a little price action, pop it out, and see what happens. I would have to duplicate it. Okay, let's just see. Let's have a little fun here. Let's see what transpires. See what I want to have. I want to be able to have a little more control over what is showing. So if I don't want to see ETFs and things like that, I also want to have some control over how much volume. Volume of Oxy is huge, but yeah, we have to play around with it a lot more. Basically, if you anybody had used our single or stocks like this feature, it's kind of like that. Kind of like that. That I think is where it is going. So people are always saying, "Oh man, I see this stock. What else is like that one?" Right now. Okay, phone, I hear you. All right, so HEPA is on the way down in that sector. HEPA is on the way down, cheap one. Probably coming into some support though right around here, 256. Now, how is CY doing? That is just what a crushing blow for these people who thought they're being bought out right here, and then the government has stepped in. Okay, guys, Sabre again now breaking down through 10. Jeez, look at this. Sabre breaking down through 10. SABR. And the market is starting to drift down again. Will it hold? Will this hold? This is a big area for it to try to hold. Slightly below this area. So again, in case you guys are wondering what is the big difference between the up, down, and the repeating, again, because I did a reload of trade ideas, we don't see all of the alerts that happen. So there were earlier alerts, but what happens is, you notice here, for instance, HT is repeating. So as this stock makes a new low, every time it makes a new low, it's going to appear here. This is the first time when all the filters were met that it made a new low. Now that's not true. I mean, again, because I reloaded, it's looking that was at 142. It was a lot earlier. But why I do this is because you can kind of go back then. In fact, let me just show. So if I go all the way back here, 951. So that was the first alert that ever happened. Let's just see where HT first happened, just for fun. Well, here's Sabre. Here's the first time Sabre happened at 993 at 10:06. So if I hadn't have reloaded, you would have seen all these symbols the very first time, and the price, of course, and the time. Oops. So what that allows you to do is, okay, what has happened? You can just quickly look at this window, and you can see, well, what has happened since that first alert? Has anything really happened? Maybe you missed it, but maybe it's setting up now. You know, so I love having this. This just keeps hammering at you. Hey, I'm making a new low. Hey, I'm making a new low. Yeah, we don't talk like that, Danny boy, okay? Going to the moon. Not in this room, anyway. Well, Guild is a virus stock. It's probably the most, if I'm going to use the word respected virus stock out there, okay? I mean, it's obviously, it's a real company. But it is a virus stock. Oh yeah, it's way more than the virus stock. Way more. That's why I'm saying it's been around for years and years and years. Way more than a virus stock. But I mean, why would it be moving like this today or over the past little while? That's the reason. Also, they did buy that other company, 47 Inc. They just bought that last week, I think. They were looking maybe buying. The rumor was buying Trill also, but that may have fallen flat on its face now. CPHI. It's I'm sorry, but it's a mess. I mean, there's really nothing to look at right now. Choppy daily chart. I know it's a, excuse me, I know it's a pharma, I know it's a China stock and all that, but I mean, there's really nothing to look at, in my opinion. Guys, remember I talked about Luna earlier, a lot earlier? Now it's starting to move a little bit. It was just hanging over 7. It's an earnings play. It does have some room. Probably will make the watch list. And the reason why, even though it's not super clean on the daily, you never know. It might gap. Monday morning might come and maybe it gaps close to that, and then it takes it out, and then it has room, a lot of room. So that's why it'll probably make the watch list. All right, just a second, please. I just got to do something in Twitter, and then that's it. My task is completed for the week. I mean, yeah, if you can handle these swings, I mean, the things with these sort of plays, you just can't take many shares. I mean, you have to have a stop in place, but you probably have to put your stop fairly out there. So that means you cannot take that many shares. But they're so whippy. Oh, 227, getting closer. Especially when I have things to do. Rubicon project. Another one underneath. Oh, coming into the 200-day moving average, 856. Rubicon, RUBI. Ooh, oil. Look at oil. BNO, the oil fund, little gap move, more of a move down now. Thank you, Bianca. Or Bianca, sorry, not Bianca. Bianca. Shoot, I wish I had paid more attention to Luna. This was one of the only earnings plays today. A little bit choppy, but you know, it had a nice move off that 7. Another one that's been just inching down, AMPY, you know, down 17%, 50 cents on a $2 stock. Big percentage move down. Fairly steadily down. Cheap. Surprised. Oh yeah, a lot of shares available to short at Interactive Brokers. 1.2 million. Well, just when things get really slow, Gecko. I mean, I don't mind. Just that, you know, when things really slow down, it's just not that interesting. You know, trying to find more trending plays. You know, and for more than 20 or 30 cents, I'm talking about like nice multi-dollar trends. Just difficult. All right, well, let's take a manual trade. You know, I've been showing everybody how to do one-click trading. So let's do a manual trade. Because you can always do that too. You can pick how many shares you want and the price you want to get in at. Then I'll show you how you can place a stop afterwards, right on the chart. So you got to find a stock to do it with. Let's take ENZE. Okay, so there's a pullback right there. So let's take let's say if this stock hit 370, we would want to take that trade. So let's go for 300 shares at 370, 3.70. Put in both here, both boxes. Oops. And buy. Okay, so there it is. So if the stock hits 370, the system will take the trade. No idea, zero. Listen, that's just me. I will never swing any of this virus plays, especially over the weekend. What if they come out with news? I mean, news, quote unquote news. You know, we've discovered a cure for it, or not as many people are getting infected, or all that sort of news can, of course, affect all these virus plays. So that's just me. I just don't want the risk. I wouldn't even do it overnight, to be honest. But again, that is just me. So now at this point, let's put a stop. I would put a stop. Now, can I do that? No, I can't put a stop in until the trade takes it, which makes sense. Okay. So if it happens, if this gets up to 370, it'll take the trade. But let me do it now. Let me just move this down. Come on. And an offering, yes. Why isn't it allowing me to move it? Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the order. Here's how you can get rid of an order. Cancel it. So I'm going to do it again. So just a manual way of doing it. 300 shares. I'll just take it at the market. Just buy it right at the market. Okay, so it took 300 shares right at the market. Now I can put a stop. Ooh, the SPY just went down below this level here, guys. Okay, so now I will put a stop in. So let's say I put a stop in at 349 right there, right at the bottom, maybe a little bit of support right there. So now I can go to 349. Put a sell order in there. Okay, so it appears right on the chart now. See what I did? So I bought it and then I put the stop in. Now, again, if it starts to move in my favor, I can always just keep moving that stop up and down. Okay? $293.94. So this is now a low, looks like a low of the day now, not counting the pre-market for the SPY. Is that correct? No, 291. Sorry, that's 291. 291.54. So getting close. About 60 cents away. Okay, so I just placed a short order for EQH there. It just took it. Why did it take 333 shares? You take the entry price and there's a stop. Subtract the two of them. Multiply by 333. You will get about $100. So that's the risk, $100. And notice the ENZ hit the stop. So that's why I took it out. This is all in the simulator, right? This is all part of the standard service. Everything I've done is all part of the standard service. Standard subscription. REPH starting to drift down now. Let's make the watch list. Actually, mainly because I thought I might bounce off this and start to fill in this void, but it's not doing that. Yeah, I mean, if we get a couple of thousand point down days, I don't know if that's going to be a flush yet. You know, it reminds me a lot. I mean, listen, it's not going to happen, but the financial crisis, I mean, it was a long time. I've said this before. It was a long time before I went long a stock. I mean, I probably didn't go long a stock for a year, at least a year. You know, people just lose confidence. I'm not saying, you know, this is not like the financial crisis at all, but exactly, John. It was, I mean, there were bounces. Absolutely, there were bounces, but I didn't trust any of them. And that's what happens when you get into a market. Again, I'm not saying we're there yet. I mean, we're not even close. I mean, you look at this SPY chart. I mean, it would have to. I mean, we kind of ran through this, you know, a few months ago, a couple of years or a year and a half ago or so, but then it rallied. So we were still up in this area. I mean, we would really have to start taking all these areas out. You know, day after day after day. I was. I didn't have trade ideas at the time, but I was, yes. Now, full time, not at my computer all day long, no. But I mean, yes. I mean, it was a full time job, if that's what you mean. You know, Chris, I can't really remember. Um, you have to define scalper. You know, I mean, I was still only intraday trading. I was not swinging anything short, that's for sure. But well, yeah. I mean, Ursula. I mean, if it comes to that, yes. I mean, you're right. I don't think we're quite there yet, but yeah. I mean, you're right. If it came to that. All right, guys, 2:45, maybe a max 15 minutes left. Man, HT just kept moving down, guys. I wish I had paid a little more attention to this one too, from 10.50 down to 10, just about. And if we start picking up steam on the downside, like it looks like we are, I always think, when tax season comes along, H&R Block should do well. There it is, H&R Block. It's down for the day. Like, actually, this is actually an earnings play. I didn't realize it. H&R Block is an earnings play. HRB. Yeah, I don't. My thoughts on anything that, to ask me to judge what a potential of one of these little bios is, wrong person. Sorry. I don't trust the stories that are coming out, of these little guys. I mean, so I'm sorry. Another earnings play, CSIGA into the 200-day moving average, 522, 515. You too, William. We'll see you on Monday. No, Matt. So you're talking about when you do something like this? Yeah, there is nothing. Yeah, they get squished a little. Yeah, there's no setting. You're not missing anything. Again, we don't make any bones about it. I mean, we are not a full-blown charting package. For my purposes, the charts are great, but I understand it's not everybody's cup of tea. But I mean, it's so you're not missing a setting, no. But the current price always being displayed. Okay, now let me figure that one. I mean, the current price is always here in the y-axis. Maybe I'm price is always displayed in the y-axis. That means, okay, you can't get a look. Oh, I'm missing to stop the current price. Oh, I see. To stop it. No, I guess not. I mean, there's no setting that will stop that. No. Man, HT just continues. You can add HT to the Well, I'm sure there'll be a ton of companies like iBio under Specs, MNO, OBSV, OPK, VSTM, all these little virus stocks. Okay, there are a ton of them under $5. I'll bet it is. Yeah, only 167 million shares. It's a big float, for a fairly big float compared to what we have been used to. 96 million in the float. Well, this one I took here on the simulator. EQH working its way down also. GNCA is actually holding. So now what I'd be doing, I'd be moving my stop down. Could always put it just almost at break even. Yeah, I'll keep moving it down. Now I'll probably I'll move it to break even. No, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Pookie. This is not very. I only took the 2 trades, but lots of activity. Yeah, I mean, lots of things to kind of keep in mind. So now it has taken out that low. Yeah, now the SPY is at the low of the day. Below the, well, it's making a new low. That was the low back here. So now it is now at the low of the day. Who knows? Are we going to get to 1,000? I don't know because I won't be seeing it. I'm gone in 6 minutes. Seeing this a lot now, the action between 2 and 3 can be pretty extraordinary. It seems like by that time the SPY is making up its mind where it wants to go, for a while anyway, and you get some nice trends. No way. No way, real. Well, I'm open to anything, but it would take me a bit to jar me. I mean, well, E-minis. Yeah, I mean, that's what he's talking about. I'm assuming he's talking about the E-minis. Red Robin charging down now. Of course, real, you're also in a market where there's a lot of movement. I remember people used to trade the E-minis, and when the market is more, shall we say, stable, you don't get a lot of movement. I'm not saying you can't make money, but that's when, in my opinion, stocks take over. A market like this, yeah, where you get a lot of movement and up and down volatility. I mean, if you can, yeah, if you're on the right side of the trend with those E-minis, yeah. All right, guys, I think that's it. I think I'm, as they say, tout fini. So, it's been quite a week. I will open the room Monday morning at 9 o'clock. And as somebody said, don't forget, daylight savings time. That's basically at 2 in the morning, Sunday morning. So have a great weekend, everybody, and we will see you Monday morning.